Welcome, everyone, to today's edition of Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBears Casino. Ronnie and Playboy Marty, and our very special guest, Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Lyn Rollins. Hope we're not boring you too bad, Marty, as he drinks the coffee. You guys are drinking coffee. I'm not. Lyn, you look like you're coming to us from New Zealand, up in the mountains somewhere. There's got to be some gnomes running around. Where are we at today?
Well, I'm actually in Alabama, and this is a pastoral scene that's not real, but it makes me feel good these days. So we're going to use it, all right?
No question. Too much time indoors, but I know you're a guy who can't stay inside. So you've been walking the neighborhood and all that sort of thing. For the folks that don't know, you moved from central Louisiana to Auburn, Alabama, where your daughter Frost lives. About how long ago?
Well, shortly after things were shut down, actually, in the spring. So this would have been about a month after the sports world came to a crashing end. This was going to be the plan to, quote, retire. And of course, the circumstances sped things along.
So how are we liking Auburn, Alabama? And you know, and you still plan on obviously coming to Louisiana, doing your regular work with LSU and that sort of thing?
Right, certainly that was the case. Auburn is a lovely town, and right now, though, I don't really think it matters where you are. But certainly, it's a town of 60,000 with the university, and a very invigorating place.
Well, Lyn, first off, before we start talking a little college football, congratulations. I know yesterday the Louisiana Sports Writers Association had some of their annual meetings, and it was also coincided with the election for the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame 2021 class that we'll announce at a later date. But you received an award for Broadcast of the Year from a standpoint of announcers, you and Chris Mikowski, for your work that you did with Louisiana Tech. So another award. You're already a Hall of Fame broadcaster, but congratulations on another award.
Thank you. I hope it's not the last one, and I don't mean that in a vain way. I hope we do get back to a work schedule in the foreseeable future. Right now, everything is in the air.
I want to ask you your reaction. You're a guy that's really close with the Southland Conference. We know that, and have done a lot of work for them over the years. We know that they've pushed back college football to the spring. Other conferences, minor conferences, have done that. And even now the Big Ten and Pac-12 are saying that they're going to consider playing some football in the spring. At least that's their intention. They've canceled for the fall. Is that realistic, though, football in the spring?
In one word, absolutely not. Sorry, that was two words. A lot of reasons. Number one, what would have to change between now and then? That's what nobody ever identifies. And I don't know that you can identify the conditions that need to be met to start in January or February. Number two, obviously the scheduling snafus and difficulties. Backing it up so close to the NFL draft certainly could be a factor. Do you play 2 seasons within 1 year if things get back to normal for next fall? I don't think there's any chance that spring football will occur anywhere.
Playboy Marty, we talked last week about the conferences, pushing to the spring or just canceling in general. What's your reaction to what we're seeing? And I want to get Lyn's as well. Justin Fields, of course, we know he was a Heisman finalist a year ago, former Georgia, currently Ohio State quarterback, a guy who probably would have been the front runner for the Heisman this year for college football. He has come out and started a petition, and it's getting a lot of momentum from college athletes to force the Big Ten back to the table, to force the Big Ten to reconsider football for the fall. Is that realistic?
I don't know if it's realistic, but I do have to say I love the move, and it just shows what college athletes of this day are able to do. I mean, this is insane. I mean, go back 5 years, you wouldn't see something like this. He tweeted it out. It's getting a lot of momentum, and basically he's just saying what we've kind of said is that they're safer at the university playing football than they are just like, hey, go back and do whatever you were going to do. And I agree completely. And it just shows that, and I don't think he would have done it if the majority of his teammates didn't want to play too. So I think it's really proving these guys want to play, just straight up. So I don't really know if it's realistic or if it's going to do anything, but I do love the move, and I thought it was awesome.
Lynn, what's your take as far as there was a school that when they broke when summer camp broke and they went home, it was a college team, a big time team. I'm just drawing a blank on the name, but one of the Power 5 conferences. They come back from their end of summer break to get back to camp. Eight or nine players tested positive for COVID, and the coach came out and said these guys are safer.
It was Oklahoma.
Was it Oklahoma? Yeah, it was Oklahoma. You're right. These guys are safer on campus than they are somewhere else. It's sort of like a little mini bubble, right, Lynn? Like the NBA.
I think they are. If you isolate that scenario as opposed to being a regular student or a regular citizen, I don't think there's any question that under that discipline and that protocol that they are safer from contracting the virus. The problem is when 20,000 people at a major university recongregate and there's no way to keep them separate, that's where the hot spots are going to reemerge. It's inevitable all across the country. If somehow you could extend that bubble and make it a 24-hour bubble, absolutely, I think they're much safer than the normal student body or normal public. So I do understand that frustration. Now, one of the things that has just been announced, Ronnie, and you may have heard of it, Yale University and the NBA have come up with a much quicker, much cheaper saliva-based test for COVID. And there's less than a day turnaround, a matter of minutes, actually, to determine if you're positive or negative. For sports and for the general public, this could have a tremendous impact.
Mm-hmm. The problem, though, that regardless of the test time, whether it takes 20 minutes to get a results or 20 hours or 20 days, there has to be an appetite for some COVID out there. And for what I'm seeing in the sports world, is that if one or two people get COVID in an organization on a team, they just quarantine those people. They shut down everything for an undetermined amount of time. And if you just can't operate like that if you're going to truly try to play sports. I mean, it has to be a situation where, hey, Johnny and Bobby tested positive for COVID. Okay, put them in their hotel room or their dorm or wherever for X amount of days, and then we'll start retesting them, and everybody else get tested. But we have to have an appetite to move forward, and that's not what we've shown as a society.
Well, if the protocols that are in place, seem to be in place now, continue, it's going to be very difficult based on exactly what you said. I think that basketball, for example, has much less of a chance of playing than football because there's only 15 players or 12 players on the roster. And so the majority of your team or all of the team with one exposure could be taken out of action for a couple of weeks. I think there's more of a chance in football because of the spacing, the way they're doing meetings, the way they're doing other things to isolate it and then still have a majority or a good portion of that 85-man roster in college available for play.
Yeah. Number of games also greatly impacts basketball as well. Just that much traveling, that much further contact. Yeah, I agree. I think college basketball is in serious trouble.
Well, the thing, Marty, though, is that college basketball has to happen because, people forget outside the Power 5, the playoffs in the bowls and all that has nothing to do with the NCAA. Football really has nothing to do with the NCAA. The way these teams make their money is through that basketball tournament and television revenue and championship contracts. If there's no college basketball, Lynn and Marty, we're going to see tidal wave change in college sports, meaning I think you're going to see a lot of teams. I think you're going to see, hey, we'll play Division I football and basketball and baseball, but all the other sports are going to go Division III non-scholarship, and I think you're going to have to see the NCAA make some adjustments. What I mean is, for example, you have to have 14 Division I sports in order to be considered a Division I team. You got to have a tennis team, and you got to have a men's and women's They have to add up to 14 total sports, and you got to do that within the Title IX balance of men and women. But if all of a sudden there's no college basketball, that means you're not going to have any revenue this year and coming up again, and you're going to see financial ruin for most colleges, and tidal wave change as far as the number of sports and all that. And so I think basketball is way more important to get done than football.
From a financial standpoint, you are absolutely correct. If the basketball tournament does not take place and those revenues do not come forth for a second year in a row, there will be a catastrophic effect. There is no question, and the landscape this time next year will look a great deal different than it does now. So, I mean, that's a financial reality, and there will be a new normal, even more drastic than we're seeing now.
That's interesting, though, because it doesn't really seem like they're treating basketball as the priority. It seems like they're still only talking about how do we get football going? How do we get football going? So that is a little bizarre to me.
Yeah. Well, I think with, obviously football is the major revenue, and no question. Yeah. But, but think about this. If you're Louisiana Tech, for example, where Lyn does a lot of broadcasts for them throughout the year, their financial model is very different than LSU. Okay, LSU makes tons of money off of football through its SEC TV contract, individual contracts, ticket sales, you name it. A lot of Division I colleges just here in the state of Louisiana Tech, UL Lafayette, for example, they technically, financially don't do that well. If anything, they might even lose some bucks, right? So they don't have, their conference doesn't have the ginormous TV contract. They don't have the tremendous fans and all the suites and all that LSU has, but they have a lot of expense. I mean, they're paying coaches $1 million a year. They got staff. They got all these scholarships at 85. So they need the basketball revenue to help with the finances, where LSU football is heavy football revenue to help with the finances. And so their financial models are completely different. And that's why like you mentioned, Lyn, 2 years in a row, potentially, these colleges are not going to get that NCAA tournament TV money, and that could just be unbelievable.
Well, I think basketball is a linchpin financially, as you've mentioned. There's no question about it. And remember, this is more of an even distribution of the money. Obviously, there is incentive to go further into the tournament, and the payoffs get better. But this is something spread across the board. Every single NCAA participant rakes in a bit of prorated basketball money. Not the case, as you say, in football.
Yeah. Well, before we kind of wrap things up with you, Lyn, you're coming up on year what in your broadcast career?
Well, actually, you've
been doing this since
about 45, roughly in that area. Yeah.
45 years. Obviously, who knows how many more you've got in the tank. I know you'll go until they tell you not to, but of those 45 years, you kind of, in essence, seen it all. There's no comparison. There's no comp to what we're going through right now.
No, there's not. And let me be clear, Ronnie. One of the turning points in my career was when you decided that college baseball could have a statewide, could have a regional wide, could even have a national wide, a national audience. And when you put together that first in the country LSU television baseball package in the late 1990s, that was kind of a boost, a new foundation for my career. And you did something that had never been done before. And obviously the great popularity of LSU baseball had everything to do with that. That environment created the opportunity, but you saw the opportunity before anybody else. It has ballooned since then, obviously, and getting more and more difficult for independent contractors to get involved with it. But that was one of the starting points, one of the really important pivotal times in my career.
Well, I've enjoyed working with you a lot over the years. Pete, you've become known for all your little quirks and analogies. My favorite personally, and I've said this many, many times, when a guy's on fire offensively, and particularly baseball, he's hotter than a Rolex in a pawn shop. It never gets old. It's my favorite one. But what is your favorite one?
Well, most of them are original. Now, some of them have been stolen from the 30s and 40s and 50s. Nobody remembers them, right? But my couple favorite ones: covers more ground than kudzu,
mm-hmm.
and hotter than a fire ant on a fever blister.
throw out another one that you didn't throw out. Hotter than salsa on sunburn. That's another
Salsa
one.
on sunburn came to me just during a game. Lately, it's so hot, it's so oppressive that if a cow were to die, it would be jerky before it hit the ground.
That one's new. I think you just came up with that one. I haven't heard that.
Relatively new. Just hadn't had a chance to use it.
One last thing before we let you go. In your broadcast career, is there a moment that stands out, whether it's radio or TV, that you've done, that's a time and a place that you can remember being?
Let me make it clear that I equally enjoy radio. It's two different things. You're the captain of the ship with radio. You go where you want to take it. Television, You're tethered to the picture, two different challenges. I enjoy them both equally, and I think radio is still very much a vital part of the sports scene. But if I had to narrow it down to one thing, it would be the last super regional that LSU and Tulane played in. Last super regional for Skip Bertman and the LSU Tigers. Tulane won in 3 games in New Orleans. By far the highest rated college baseball on television that's ever been had. Truly a remarkable time, and that would be the one apex that I would look at.
Yeah, it was 2001, and at the time it was the old box, and at the old box they seated about 7,500. Was the capacity there. Zephyr Field was over 13,000 for each game. Down in New Orleans. And I do remember the Friday night game you and I did on that broadcast. New Orleans, the game went to extra innings. Lane Mestepe pitched into extra innings. I think he threw like 11 innings or something like that. And Lane, or at least 10 for sure. And Lane got pitched into extra innings. And at 10 o'clock, I remember like between 10 and 11, the ratings were like almost, I want to say like a 30 or something crazy like that. I mean, it was or 25 ratings, 30 something share. It was insane. It was NFL Saints playoff type numbers, or something like that. It was crazy. But Lyn, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoy Auburn, Alabama. Hope we get a chance to see each other in person soon, which means you'll be back here in Baton Rouge broadcasting LSU sports.
Well, one good thing, if you're an LSU fan, and the football season does not come off this year, LSU will be a 2-year defending national champion.
Right.
That's one way to look at it. And the other way is we're saving a little money. Most of us are getting about 3 weeks to the gallon right now.
That's about right. Lyn, thank you, man. Take care.
Take care. Good luck with the new show.
All right, appreciate it. Lyn Rollins right there, one of the Hall of Fame voices. Bring back Marty in here. It's been a few days, Marty. I see the Phoenix Suns banner over your shoulder. We'll treat this next 30 seconds as a therapy session. Have you gotten over it? Because your Suns are getting a lot of love. Everybody talking about them, over the weekend nationally that, hey, they went 8-0, didn't make the playoffs. But now we're moving on, right? The play-in games have happened. It's time to move on.
They've put me through more. And, again, it's the best basketball we played in 10 years. I really can't be that pissed about it. It was a fun ride. I mean, that Booker shot against the Clippers, there's a lot of foundation. And I really think that there's a certain Greek athlete that grew up in a much warmer climate than where he currently plays and is a free agent in a year. So just there's a certain player.
Interesting, huh? Gentry gone as the coach of the Pelicans. Probably one of the worst kept secrets out there, but hey, it's official. It's happened. I didn't realize, time just flies. I mean, and the older you get, it goes even faster, but he spent 5 years in New Orleans. It doesn't seem like he was named coach 5 years ago, but here we are, 5 years.
Yeah.
One playoff in 5 years.
Yeah. He got fired, or Monty got fired after they got swept by the Warriors in the first round, which always made no sense to me. That was one of the best teams ever. And they almost pulled out that game 3. They had a big lead that they blew because Steph and Clay decided to go nuts, which they do. And when that happens, there's nothing you can really do about it. And I feel like if they had hung on, Monty maybe keeps his job. And I hate coaching decisions that are made off of one game like that. Right. Unfortunately, the names I've heard mentioned, I'm not excited about to replace them.
one of those names, of course, is Jason Kidd is one of the possible names that's being thrown around, an old Phoenix Suns guy. What's your take on that?
I think he's kind of a scumbag as a human, and I think he's had enough chances as a head coach. Frankly, I'm not excited about that at all. Ty Lue, I think, is a good man, a good guy by all accounts. Players love him, but I just don't think he brings much to the table in terms of X's and O's as a basketball coach. Are we losing you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still here for whatever reason. It's got me kicked off here. I had to decline a call while we're on here.
Yeah, there should be a video button.
Let me.
Somewhere.
Yeah, I'm looking for that. Here we go. Let's throw this in here. There we are. There we are. Right. Back at it. Rookie mistake. I got a bunch of calls while we're on there. Ty Lue is an interesting name because he's a guy who coached in the finals, right? He coached in the finals.
Won a finals.
Won a finals with Cleveland, but obviously LeBron, most people look at LeBron as the coach. But, hey, had success, liked to coach, won a title. It's just I'm just curious how much they're able to extract the part he played.
Yeah, and you saw it after LeBron left. I mean, I just really don't think he brings a whole lot as a head coach. I think he makes a lot of sense. Similar to Gentry, I think he makes a lot of sense as an assistant because he gets along with players. Players like him, so he's able to like control egos that way and not have to be like in charge of the whole ship. Just in the NBA, I like going after young guys. Like there's a Brad Stevens or Nick Nurse out there to be found. There is. And, I mean, they're not, like, growing on trees, like, everywhere.
Right.
But I'd rather take a chance on a young guy than just recycle failed head coaches, which for some reason GMs love doing that. I've never really understood it.
You mentioned taking a chance. If you're the New Orleans Pelicans on a young guy, do we have a name or just, just interview all the young assistants out there and see who you like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't keep track of like all like the young assistants. One name that I've heard that's pretty interesting is Becky Hammond. It's this assistant for the San Antonio Spurs, would be the first female head coach in the entire league. I think she's pretty brilliant. All the stuff I've seen about her and heard from her, I think that would be an interesting choice. I like Kenny Atkinson. I still don't really know why the Nets got rid of him. And also, if the Nets don't bring Jacques Vaughn back, I think he's a good option. Mincy thinks they should just throw like the boat at Coach K because it's all dookies.
I'd love to see them do that. I mean, I'm sure others have done that before, right? Of going at him, and he's pretty much made it clear that he's not going to do that. What about a guy like JJ Redick? What if you said to him, "Hey, are you ready to stop this playing career? We'll make you the head coach."
See, I don't think he wants to do that. He's more of a media guy. I think he wants to play as long as he just started his own podcasting company actually. He was working for the Ringer, Bill Simmons' company for a while, but his contract ended and he just started his own podcasting company. So I think that's where his future is.
I just see him as a guy who is, he's like a coach on the court so much and everything. Mm-hmm. That's my takeaway on JJ Redick is that he's such, that's probably why.
Oh yeah, I think he'd be great at it.
Anyway, all right, well, we'll see what happens. The good news is it's a fresh start. They get to hit the reset button. So anyway, he's Playboy Marty. I'm Ronnie Rand. Special thanks to Lyn Rollins, who joined us on his brand new backdrop. How about that, huh? His brand new. He learned. His wife figured out how to work his FaceTime backdrop silhouette. No, he doesn't live in the mountains of Ireland or the backcountry of New Zealand. He actually lives in a regular house in Auburn, Alabama. All right, Playboy Marty, we'll visit with you tomorrow on Sports Church Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino in Baton Rouge, open 24 hours. Have a great one, everybody.
Thanks, Ronnie.